Today we're gonna create some awesome at-home cocktail menus. And to help me explain the benefits of this and how awesome it is for you to have for your guests when they come over, welcome Drew. What's up, guys? So with the cocktail menus, I actually have a couple right here, which I will show for you. I made these in Kittl, and the reason that I made them is just because it was so much easier for friends and family to come over and stop asking what I could make. Well, it's right here. I've got exactly what I have available. These were 2 pages basically on an 8x5x11 standard sheet of paper that I just cut right down the paper, and you can see there it was really easy to just cut either with scissors. I actually have like a slicer that just goes right down the middle, or a paper cutter, if you will. Super easy to do at home. That's what Graham is going to walk you through. Any questions you have about what should go on a menu, feel free to comment down below. And now back to Graham. Thank you, Drew. Thank you. Yeah. So with that being said, obviously his is pretty vintage. My personal design style isn't super vintage, but I'm gonna be doing 3 menus. I'm gonna do one that's vintage, one that's modern, and then one that's more wacky, experimental, quirky that I've seen at a lot of different bars and like downtown areas that wanna be experimental and fun and drive new people into the cocktail scene. So let's get started. So I'm on Behance, and I'm gonna just look at some references just to get my mind in the headspace of cocktail menus. Obviously, like I've said before, I don't condone like one-to-one copying. You know, if you're not like selling this or doing this for client work and you want to get pretty close to something that somebody else made and it's just for home, I mean, go for it. Like do your thing and make sure that you design what you want. But I also think it's great to put your own spin on something. And so I'm just looking at some references here. It'll be most helpful for the vintagey looking ones because I'm not actually that great at vintage looking design. I like this a lot. So I think I'm gonna do the modern one first, and then I'll tackle the vintage one, and then we'll go into like the quirky, fun, crazy looking one. So I do like something like this, but I also know that I love like just straight up image cutouts. I also like this a lot, this Doodle kind of vibe. I've been seeing this a lot where people will mock stuff up on envelopes. It's very interesting, but it does look very cool. Like you're a cocktail bar, what do you need an envelope for? That has all your branding on it. It looks cool to show a client though, I guess. Okay, let's get into it. So I've got a 4x6 project open right here. I'm gonna go for my more modern cocktail menu. So I'm gonna use some type that's pretty clean, pretty modern. I've been liking Brickledge Grotesque a lot because of the ink traps, and I'm just gonna close this letter spacing quite a bit. I'm always a fan of that. Could do something generic text like cocktail menu, obviously, like you could do like your last name and then cocktails or whatever you want to do. It is your design and you are free to make it your own. So I've got my title here, and I'm trying to see if I like all caps better or if I like title case better. And I'm liking the weight of the all caps. I may open up my line spacing slightly now that it's all caps, and that looks pretty good. I feel like it needs something above that, just in the corners to, what is the -40? Okay. Just needs a little something here and here to kind of make it feel more like a box and like all the space was utilized. Like let's say I wanted this to be my menu for, 2024. I could do something like this and then group these, and I'm gonna make this all caps as well so that it's the same line height as the 2024. And then I'm going to line up my title to be the same width as this box that I put up here. And I also kind of want the spacing from this to the edge to be the same as from those to the title. And if I wanted to be just consistent and maybe just a little bit lazy, I could just put this down here as well. And then the only thing that I have to do is go in and fill in my line items. So I think a good standard amount of cocktails for this might be like 3 to 5 options. You don't really want to overwhelm somebody that may not know a ton. So, and that will also help me in the way that I want to lay this out as well, because I kind of want to do like 1, 2, 3, and then the pictures in the opposite zigzag positions. So I don't want these to be just drinks that everybody already knows, but maybe like a slight variation on drinks that everybody knows. So for this first one, I'm doing a citrus old fashioned. Maybe it could come with like some lemon in it or something that freshens it up. Maybe a sprig of some botanical that kind of makes it more light and airy. Drew, give me ingredients for a citrus old fashioned.
100 proof bourbon.
100 proof bourbon.
Orange bitters.
Orange bitters.
Lemon simple syrup.
Lemon simple syrup. Could you do like a lemon slice? Or like a lemon, not like a wedge, an actual slice?
I mean, I would just do a lemon or an orange peel.
Lemon peel. And then what kind of sprig of something would be good?
Probably rosemary.
Sprig of rosemary. And then I'm just gonna adjust this to where that looks good. And we can also just take this and copy it so that it is the same layout on all three. So I can group these together. And then what I can do is select all of them and then use this tidy tool right here to make sure that they are evenly spaced from top to bottom. And then I can group all of them and center that so I make sure that I have the same margins on left and right here. Okay, give me ingredients for a more experimental mule or like a Kentucky mule. Or you could use vodka because we've already got a bourbon drink.
Ginger juice.
House vodka, ginger juice,
Lime juice.
lime juice,
Lemon juice.
lemon juice,
Ginger kombucha.
ginger kombucha,
And maple syrup.
maple syrup. I'm going to close this just slightly so that it just feels better this way than it does like that. This feels a lot better, and then make sure that it's aligned. So I've got citrus old fashioned with the ingredients as well as the kicked by a mule drink and the ingredients under that. And then I'm going to have a third drink as well. And this one is going to be trip to Manhattan. Okay, trip to Manhattan. And then how do you make a Manhattan with a twist?
You have rye whiskey.
A certain proof.
100 proof.
100 proof rye whiskey. Oh, whiskey.
You have Amaro. A-M-A-R-O.
A-M-A-R-O.
Chocolate bitters.
Chocolate bitters.
And orange bitters.
Orange bitters.
With a cherry garnish.
With a cherry. How do you spell garnish?
G-A-R-N-I-S-H.
Okay. And this is a black Manhattan, and the coloring comes from the Amaro? Is that what it comes from?
Yeah.
Okay. And which is actually quite wonderful. We've had some friends over that say that they don't even like Manhattans, and Drew has made this, and they've been like, that's wonderful. So something to try. So we've got this spaced out here. I just want to make sure that the space between menu and my first line item is about the same as this group right here and the text there, and it looks like it is. And now I'm just going to I'm going to try to generate with AI these drinks, and if not, I'll just find pictures for the sake of making this design. How do you spell sprigs? S-P-R-I-G?
Yes.
So I've just got in my prompt box, old-fashioned cocktail with a lemon peel and a sprig of rosemary. And then I always like to add, if I know I'm going to be removing the background from this, I like to say on a white background. That way it doesn't generate it like on a table or somebody holding it, and then it just confuses the background remover. Why don't we just make it easier for ourselves? And we're just going to see how this does. So this is actually pretty awesome, and I might just stick with this, but I'm going to give it one more generation. That is pretty awesome. I do like that a lot. So I am just going to remove the background from both of these and see which one looks better on the menu. Dang, Drew, come look at this. These are my two generations and the background removed. Which one do you like more? I like the twirly whirly on this, but I like the garnishing elements on this one.
Yeah,
I think I'm digging this more.
I like the either one is great.
Yeah, got it. So I'm going to use this second one right here. And if I want to make sure everything is nice and tidy, I can just line it up to this title right here. And it looks like it's slightly tilted, so I might straighten that out a little bit. And just kind of make sure that I can get it the most aligned right here. What it feels like to distribute the weight. And then I might, twist and turn it to see if it gives it a different dynamic. And we'll just leave it right there for right now until we have kind of all three of our drinks and all of our elements laid out. It's kind of difficult to see how everything would actually be with all of the elements together. So we're going to go on to our second generation, and we're just going to type mule cocktail, let's say vodka, mule cocktail in a copper mug with a lime wedge on a white background. And let's see how that does. That is actually pretty awesome. It's a little bit more ice in it than I would like in my drink, but just for the sake of having options, I'm going to generate 2 and then pick the better of the 2. Okay, so it actually looks like it added some mint to this one, and that's not technically in my description, so I'm going to use this first one. Perfect. So good. And we'll just line that up there. And I think sizing this one down slightly helped me mentally with feeling like it was out of place, and it technically wasn't out of place, it was just a little too big. And we are going to move on to our third and final generation for this cocktail menu before we move on to our vintage menu, which is super cool. And we're going to say Black Manhattan cocktail with a cherry garnish on a white background. And if we have to be more specific, then we'll do that and we'll try again. But we'll just see how it does with this first generation. That's actually pretty cool, but I need it to be in a coupe glass. So cocktail in a COUPE, is that right?
What?
COUPE for coupe glass? Yep, coupe glass on a stick. Cherry garnish on a stick, let's try that. I'm very impressed by this copper mug. It did a really good job. So this is actually really great. So we're gonna remove the background from this one, and that did just about perfect. And line this up, and I feel pretty good about this first menu. I might also just group these and make sure that they're the same top to bottom, and then the rest for these elements as well, just center it up vertically. It's pretty sick. These are all AI generated. So that is my modern menu done. Let's move on to the more vintagey looking one. And for the sake of time, I'm going to use the same 3 cocktail menu items for each one. Okay, so right off the bat, I am going to make the background kind of a weathered off-white, kind of something like this. Very similar to the menu that Drew showed in the beginning of this video. And then for the text, the color I'm going to be using is kind of a brown color just to get that printed ink feel, more vintagey. Drew, you're the king of vintage, man. What are some good fonts in Kittl for vintage? Atla, or is it Alata? Black River. That's really nice. So we've got some options here. I think I'm gonna go with this Black River font. And why don't we say cocktail and make this kind of like a cocktail menu. We can say cocktail and then give that an arch up the curve on that. I know I want this text to be a bit larger. Yeah, something like that. And then I can duplicate that and then do menu down here. And I can kind of connect my letters here, which is actually pretty nice. Has a nice little natural connection there. See, this to me looks better than this because this looks a little bit more like a mistake, but if I put it right here, it looks like the actual anchor points were meant to go up and connect that way. So I'm gonna select these 2 and find my brown color here, maybe something a little desaturated. Like that looks super nice. And for my subtext, I'm going to use a lot of, because it's just nice and geometric, and it's got kind of almost like an Art Deco vibe to it. Make my line item just a bit smaller there and close the letter spacing some. So I've got my menu items from my other project here, and I'm just going to use this to change the font of all of them. And then what I'd like to actually do is left align these like a more traditional menu. So I'm gonna ungroup all of these, make sure all of this text is left aligned, and then I can make this box a little longer and maybe stretch this out to where it's the full name. So after playing around with this, I actually want to center align these as well as the description text here. And let's say it's just title and then the description text is 2 lines. And so now I have this that looks super good together. I can copy this, paste my text in there, center align that, and that looks good. Copy my text from here, also great. And copy and paste this one more time. Grab my text and my description text as well. Cool. So now I'm just gonna play around with the text a little bit. I need to make sure that this is centered, and so is this, as well as all of the subtexts. And also make sure that my text is the same color as the title. I'm gonna group this and bring this down some. I want the space from the edge to the C in this word to be about the same as from the top of the C to the edge as well. Just as a note, there are also these awesome text presets as well in the vintage category available to you if you want something a little bit more flourished and you don't know how to do that text manipulation. There are all these presets in here that you can use. I am actually gonna grab this monogram right here. Maybe move my menu items up a touch and then make this like a stamp on the bottom. Can make this Wilson residence. Definitely not established in 1978. So let's just say 2024. We can just put menu on both of these, stretch it out just enough so that the text comes through. And then we can say quality drinks. Something like that looks awesome. And then it's just the monogram here. And I can just put W here. I could also put WR for Wilson residence. Now that's looking pretty awesome. I just want to add some like flourishes and ornaments, decorations to the sides of it just to fill it out and make it not look so plain, because it is vintage and nothing about vintage design is plain whatsoever. So I'm going to go into my elements panel and go to my ornaments tab, and under these Victorian elements I'm going to use some of these. Maybe make that my same color as my text. Flip this one, group these, make sure that's centered. Option drag down to the bottom, group those, and make sure that's all centered up left and right as well as top and bottom. Now that this is up here, I can bring my menu text down as well as my menu items. And then I just want something on the sides here, I think. So I might grab this element, line that up, make sure it's centered top to bottom, make it my brown color, and option drag to copy. And then it is lined up on the left and right. I'm thinking something at a low opacity behind cocktail menu could be cool. There's these little rays that are super awesome. I think something like this. And we will just center that up on our title, put it to the back on our brown color, and let's just put the opacity at something like 20, and that looks awesome. Maybe just a little bit less. Sweet. I'm going to also copy this, rotate it, make it quite a bit smaller, and just align it right here. I wonder if I take this. Also, if I take all my flourishes and I make them like a nice, like gold color, that could be cool. Yeah, that's cool. It adds like a nice dynamic to it. All right, Drew, you're the king of vintage. Come over here and look at this. Tell me what I did wrong. This is a learning experience for me because I don't do vintage ever.
Yeah, not bad.
So tell me what you would have done different on this.
I mean, it just depends on what you want to have, like, first and foremost. Like, obviously, like, I can see cocktail menu pretty blatantly there, which is fine. I would probably have the actual names of the cocktails themselves be like Black River, but just all lowercase, like not. So that way you have the subtext as your sans serif font. Yeah, it's right there. right there.
Oh, so I'm back with some edits from Drew, and his suggestion was to take these top lines right here of the cocktail items and make them Black River as well. I took off the side embellishes. We put a little text blurb down here just to have some weight down there, as well as offset our monogram here on the side, and then added another one over here kind of in the background. And so I think we've ended up with a pretty awesome vintage looking cocktail menu. So the next thing I'm going to do is move on to our more quirky design. The tough thing with these is a lot of this quirky new age fun design is very bright, like RGB colors, and obviously we have to use CMYK to print. We can't use RGB because then we're going to make something super vibrant and awesome and then print it and it's going to look dull and we'll be upset. So we have to keep that in mind as we're designing. So I found this really cool reference of this really quirky cafe menu, like dinner menu. Just lots of really cool mock-ups here. I mean, this just looks awesome. This is the kind of stuff that makes me think like, wow, there are some really talented people in the world. And so I started with my title here, which is Play Fair Display, and then I put a slight stroke on it just to round out those corners a little bit. And then this subtitle here is the Herr von Muellerhof text with a stroke around it that's the same as the background, so it adds that cutout around it. And then now I'm going to go back to Play Fair Display and add some text kind of here just to fill out that right side space. So -50, close that line spacing, and then go right here. And then I could do like Wilson Residence cocktail menu, close the line spacing quite a bit, I think. Let's put this like right here, and then I'm gonna add another one. And I like the ones that have like coordinates on them. So I don't know what any coordinates are, so I'm just gonna put some random stuff in here. I think that that's super cool. Obviously, you know, it would look a little different. It was actual coordinates, but something like that for the purposes of seeing what it would look like is super good. And then now we're gonna move on to our actual menu items. So I just copied and pasted in my menu items from the first one. And I mean, like, this already looks super cool, but you know, I can't just copy and paste the same one. And we have this very awesome serif font that I want to use in this design. So we're gonna change all of this to Play Fair, and that does look pretty, I mean, that looks pretty awesome. And I'm just gonna select these smaller text boxes and make those -20 letter spacing, just to kind of increase the readability a little bit. It was a little cramped, especially for a serif font. Some of those tails like to mush together, and it makes it a little bit difficult to see. The first thing that I want to do is I'm gonna ungroup these just so I can mess with them. And I want to take these different drinks and put them down here at the bottom, spread them out. I think that that looks super cool, and we can just make sure that they're all lined up, group them, and then center that. That's already looking really cool. And for this, I'm going to make this all one line as well as the other ones. And I can get my ingredients just out of the way here for a second. Can spread out that text box, make it all one line. And then I'm gonna use this font right here to do the first letter of each of my menu items, which full text box editing with, you know, using multiple fonts in one text box as well as multiple text colors and different, you know, if I wanted to mix regular and italic of a single font in one text box is coming. It is coming. It is currently being worked on right now. I'm just gonna copy this, make that a K, and that's starting to look super awesome. Yeah, I like that a lot. Really plays into our vibe here. Change this to a T. Yeah, that's really cool. It definitely plays into our cocktail menu header vibe. So I'm just gonna group these titles together and center these guys up optically. Can group these, and then I might make these descriptions 2 lines each. I like the way that that looks. Yeah, So I want to make sure that the spacing on all of them is about the same as well. That looks good. So I'm going to select all 3 of these, center align them, group them, and then align them to the center. And this is looking pretty cool. I kind of want to add some doodles to this, maybe. So I'm going to use AI. I'm going to generate a line art. And I'm going to say old-fashioned cocktail with a lemon slice. And we'll see how this does. I think I need to center this title a little bit over. It's kind of hard optically sometimes when you have the embellished first letter in the line item. You have to kind of optically center things. I'm gonna edit my prompt here a little bit. That's pretty cool. You know, it's not as doodly as the reference, but you know, I would have to draw something which is actually pretty easy to do. And then you can vectorize it. And I'm gonna just do the same prompts for the other 2 drinks as well. So I'm gonna say vodka mule in a copper cup, vodka. And we'll see how this does. Okay, this is actually pretty great. I like that. I want it to be thinner, so I'm gonna say thin line, and we'll see how that does. My recommendation if you were going this style is to actually doodle out these cocktails, like maybe generate it and then download it and then hand draw over it in Procreate or another program, something similar, so you can have a very organic looking line art drawing. And so this is a little bit more in line with what I'm going for. So let's put that right there, and then Manhattan. We're gonna put Manhattan cocktail in a coupe glass with a cherry on a stick, and we'll see how that does. Might have to say thin line again, might not. We'll just see. I think that's close enough. You could do it again if you thought it didn't get the stick well, but I like this a lot. Put it somewhere around there. Looks good. And I might actually make these super small so that I can kind of nestle them where the titles are. Yeah, I think that looks really good. Yeah, that looks super awesome. I love that a lot. And so I'm just gonna take this title, move this down, and then move all of this down as well. And I'm going to copy this and just put it at the top. Group that, center, and then the only thing else I need to do is just kind of align this optically so that it looks good. Something like that looks perfect. So that's our 3rd design, more quirky. You know, if I had more time, I would actually hand draw these to make them more organic, maybe play with the colors a little bit. I actually went ahead and printed the first design, as you can see there. This one is my favorite of the 3. Actually, I love the 3rd as well. That's really, really cool, and I might have to print that out as well just so I have the option. I love that. It did a really, really good job. This is just an at-home printer. If you wanted to get a little more hefty, you could get this printed at like a print shop or by Printful. So yeah, it's just really cool to hold something that you created. Like I made this and now it's physical, and that's just really gratifying, and it's not just on a screen. Having something actualized and realized can really give you that sense of joy and pride that you made something and now it's in the world and people can use it. If you liked this video, make sure to actually like it. There's a like button there, and we would love for you to use it, as well as comment down below which one of these 3 cocktail menu designs was your favorite. Go and try this out on your own. Make your own home cocktail menu in whatever style. I mean, there are hundreds of design styles, and you could pick your favorite one. Go look for references, and then try to stay within a niche, and then just make it fun. Make seasonal cocktail menu items. You could sell these as templates, or you could sell them on Etsy with other people's personal at-home cocktail menus. This would be an awesome niche to get into if you wanted to sell something like this printed for people. Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any Kittl related design content, as well as if you haven't tried Kittl, there is a promo code for you in the description to try out a pro plan. Well, that is all for this video, and we will see you in the next one.